Hey guys, welcome back to the Oilers Fanatic. We are back today with a new edition of Twitter Quick Hits, a collection of all the latest Oilers news and rumors from around the Twitterverse. Today we'll be talking about the latest on Duncan Keith. Let's kick things off with this clip of Rick Dollawall from the Donnie and Dolly Canucks show.
First, Duncan Keith. So 2 days ago when the story broke by Elliot Friedman that, Duncan Keith wanted to play in Western Canada or Seattle, the Vancouver Canucks were not aware that Keith was being shopped to Edmonton and Seattle. That's because Edmonton and Seattle were identified by the player and his agent as the two teams. Edmonton the primary, and I believe because the Oilers closer to winning and a chance to play with McDavid. Seattle, I'm hearing, may be out. It looks like it. Everyone I've talked to thinks that Keith most likely will end up in Edmonton.
Kurt Levins of the Cult of Hockey has written an article saying the Oilers are the frontrunners for Duncan Keith. Please check out the full article, but I've zeroed in on this portion. The addition of a guy like Keith would also allow Holland and Dave Tippett to slow play prospect left-hand D Philip Broberg, who to some eyes could use a full year in the AHL. Now, there are never any guarantees. Chicago will make the best deal possible. No trade is ever done until it's done. But where there's smoke, there's fire. Oh, and one final note, related or not, Jerry Johansson also represents UFA goaltender Chris Dreger of the Florida Panthers. Just saying. I would love if the Oilers could add Chris Dreger. Or Dreger. I never know if I'm saying that right. But I have a feeling he's going to Seattle. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet was a guest on Oilers Now with Bob Stauffer today, and he mentioned the Blackhawks are not looking to take back a contract in the deal, but something will have to be figured out money-wise because the Oilers don't want to take on Keith's full $5.5 million cap hit. Stauffer mentioned maybe sending Kyle Turris to the Blackhawks, or the Blackhawks retaining maybe 25% of Keith's salary. I think a 25% salary retention may make the most sense and could be something the Oilers and Hawks agree on. Elliot Friedman mentioned the Blackhawks are targeting Seth Jones or Dougie Hamilton, so including Caleb Jones in the deal would make sense, reuniting the brothers in Chicago. So Duncan Keith to Edmonton for Caleb Jones and 25% retained by Chicago. 25% retained would come to $1,384,615. It would give the Oilers a $4,153,847 cap hit for Keith for the next 2 years. The Caleb Jones portion of the deal is likely contingent on the Hawks acquiring Seth Jones. Otherwise, maybe another contract like Kyle Turris goes in the deal. Don't expect Mikko Koskinen or James Neal to go in the trade. Some people are suggesting maybe Dylan Strome comes in the trade with Duncan Keith. It does help Chicago by clearing another $3 million. I had Strome as the possible new number 3 center for the Oilers in my roster, but he is a left shot center, so at the end of the day, it's likely not the best fit for the Oilers, unless Strome goes on the wing. Scott Powers of The Athletic in Chicago had this update. A lot of names have been thrown around coming and going for the Blackhawks so far this offseason. The one name few expected to see was Duncan Keith, but as Elliot Friedman reported earlier this week, the Blackhawks and Keith have discussed potentially trading him this offseason. We weren't looking to move him, but it was initiated by Duncan, a source said. He'd like to be closer to his son. He's getting older, and Duncan didn't get to see him much last season. We understand that. This doesn't mean the Blackhawks will be trading Keith. They need to find a trade partner, of course. Keith, who turns 38 later this month, isn't the Norris caliber defenseman he was in the past, and probably has been playing too much for the Blackhawks in recent years. That said, there are teams who can probably envision Keith still being effective in a lesser role, and would like having his experience around. The question is whether a team would fully take on Keith's contract, which has a $5,538,462 cap hit for 2 more years. One league source thought the Edmonton Oilers could be a possible destination for Keith. They need a defenseman, and they have the assets, the source said. I have to say, depending on how the possible trade shakes out, I would be in favor of bringing in Duncan Keith. I know a lot of Oiler fans do not want this trade to happen, but I'm in the minority, I guess. I like that the deal is short-term and Philip Broberg or Dmitry Samorukov can replace him in 2 years. He would be around to mentor our young D. He brings Stanley Cup experience and leadership to the dressing room. He wants to be here. You have to convince a free agent to come or to try to work out another trade if you're not taking Keith. Is Duncan Keith the best possible target or fit? Probably not. But the Oilers don't just get to pick and choose who they want. But at the end of the day, time will tell if this one happens. Do you hate the idea of a Duncan Keith trade or love it? Sound off in the comments below. Enjoying the channel? Please like and subscribe. You've been listening to The Fanatic. Thanks for being a fan.